everybody. Anybody can hear me? Is this working? Hello everybody. Anybody can hear me? Is this working? Hi, Christopher. Hello, everybody. Anybody can hear me? Yeah, it's my first time streaming, so I'm still messing around with this. Apparently, I scheduled the stream in the wrong string type, so it's now I have to. I think I'll close that other one. Yeah, it's my first time streaming, so I'm still messing around with this. Apparently, I scheduled the stream in the wrong string type, so it's now I have to. I think I'll close that other one. Yeah, it's my first time streaming, so I'm still messing around with this. Apparently, I scheduled the string in the wrong string type, so it's now I have to. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, it's my first time streaming, so I'm still messing around with this. Apparently, I scheduled the string in the wrong string type, so it's. I think I can add myself here. I think I can add myself here. Anyway. We'll wait for some more people to join in because it's a bit early. How can I? Let's see. Maybe I can do this. Christopher, can you still hear me? I think there's some sort of lag. Yeah. Cool. Where are you from, Christopher? What time is it at your place? Cool. Yeah, so most of the people are from USA, so it's like, I guess this is kind of a good hour, I think. Yeah, New Zealand is far. Uh, uh, I did post this thing 4 days ago, but nobody responded, so I just guessed the time that would be appropriate. Like, I've never used live streaming on Twitch, and I don't know what local times people are. I think this is a good time. Go away. Wonder if people are still stuck in the old stream that I closed. Hope they can see the message about this one. I don't know why you can't like switch a stream that you've scheduled from being the type of a camera to the type of the stream. It's like they're two different things. Yeah. Yeah, I posted the link in the stream chat in the Discord channel of Odin. Handmade. Could try do that as well. I think I should be able to add myself in the camera. That's a media source. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. General section, let's see. Da-da. Christopher, have you used OBS before? It is not really liking my high DPI. It's super hard to read. We got audio. Whatever. Episode 30? There's no episode 30 in my series. Not sure what you mean by that. Not yet. Boop, boom. Oh, Handmade Hero, sorry. I misread it. Yeah, I watched like 50 hours or so of that. It's just, yeah, it's a lot to take in. I think in general what ends up happening is that you kind of the person doing the streaming kind of sections it out to a section of just streaming the stuff that they want to show, and then a Q&A section after that, and they usually split it up. Casey's doing that, and Jonathan Blow is doing that. I think it kind of works well because like you can just focus on explaining things in that section, and in that sense I think maybe just like pre-recording the session like I've been doing for the explaining stuff, and then doing a Q&A separately. I think that can work. I think it's more time effective. Christopher, did you get my reply to your comment? I just did like I think 30 minutes ago. I'm not sure I was clear there. Oh, Nicholas, hello. You got another person. uh, Nicholas, where did you get here from? Which Discord? Handmade Network. Okay. So yeah, so this is I made a series about kind of like the handmade hero kind of thing. Just starting coding some graphics application from scratch completely, but in the Odin programming language, not in C or C++. And it also covers all the binding that we have to do. The binding itself is not a lot of work, but like the Win32 is gnarly. It took a while like to get to actual drawing, which I actually did yesterday. Does that kind of answer the question? So there's you can go into my channel, there's two playlists. There's one that I'm just covering the theory, no code, I mean a little bit of pseudocode and stuff, and that's language agnostic. You can use that information to code in any language. And then there's the thing I call the Handmade Runes, which is the series where I'm actually showing how to do everything from scratch in Odin. The end goal, so I started doing the thing in C, and then I ported to Odin after studying a bit about Odin, and I kind of liked it, and I thought it's easier to explain things maybe, and just easier to use, and it runs just as fast. And some people, and I posted some stuff in the Odin Discord, and some people said, or no, I posted some stuff in my YouTube channel, my private YouTube channel, and I got a bunch of people saying, can you do a tutorial of how you did that? So the thing that I did was like simple ray tracer with like ray sphere traversal, ray sphere intersection. And it's kind of interactive, so you have like a first-person shooter thing and a camera orbit. Can post a short clip that demos it. It's in the introduction video in my playlist. Just a second. So we're orbiting around the camera, just with the right mouse button, and with the middle mouse button I can tap phasing just to quickly down on the cursor, which gets stuck on the edge of the screen. And once you get to it, just that's a time-coded link for the demo. The end goal is basically to satisfy the need for some people to be able to code, to learn how to code graphics applications from scratch, which is kind of like the goal of Handmade Hero, but a lot less, like a much smaller aspirational scope. Just showing people how to start. Yeah, so I did the original thing in C. Didn't do much C++, but it works in C++ as well. And yeah, it converts very easily between C and Odin. It's mostly just syntax. It's actually easier in C because in C you already have the Win32, API that you can use just right out of the box in Windows and in Odin. So there is a Win32 binding that Odin comes with, but it's kind of partial. It doesn't have everything that I needed, and it uses like different naming convention in terms of capitalization and stuff. So if you want to extend it's kind of difficult because you can't just copy paste from MSDN and have it work. You kind of have to mess around with it a bit. So I just did the whole thing from scratch. In Odin it's really simple to bind to C. I can actually show. So in the platform layer, I'm supposing are you all able to see the code that I'm showing right now? So if you can see this, yeah, so this is like the binding file in Odin. You just do a foreign, you give it what the lib file, you do system, blah, it's just a bunch of syntax for Odin, and then you paste in like basically code from like the declaration, the function signatures of the things from Win32 you want to call into, and you have to define all these things. So like I have like a file that just maps all those constants in C that you have for like Odin types. Yeah, so that's basically how you do like the binding to any C API. We do user32 and GDI. We're just using this. I'm doing it a bit simpler than what Casey did in Handmade Hero. He was using the stretch DI bits, which I think needs like a bitmap. You can actually get around not having to do any bitmap stuff. You're just setting the bits. It just takes a pointer to some memory that it expects it to be in a certain. It's just an array of unsigned 32 integers, deword align, and that's the frame buffer basically. That you hand it off to set di bits to device, and it's just you allocate it however you want, and you just put pixel color values in it, and it displays it in your window. Yeah, like so like the first few sessions in the series is very, Win32 focused. Obviously, because you have to create a window, you have to listen to all the events and add the messages and basically do everything that Casey is doing roughly. But we're also doing like raw input that Casey isn't doing for the mouse. Yeah, we're already doing 2D rendering. So the most recent thing that I posted yesterday, I guess I can just run it. So it looks like this. So I have I'm drawing like a rectangle, like a marquee select, and I can also draw in with the right mouse button some rectangles, and with the middle mouse button I can pan around the background there, and with the wheel I can zoom in and out. And we also did drawing things under the cursor. It's currently disabled because it needs a different configuration, but you can basically do any 2D rendering you want. And actually 3D rendering is 2D rendering. It's just there's a process that's converting from 3D to 2D depending on which approach you're taking. There's the ray tracing approach and then there's the rasterization approach, both of which end up with just a two-dimensional grid of pixels, whether you're using hardware acceleration or not, because that's the thing that you end up displaying in a window anyway. So it's like 2D rendering, like 3D rendering is ending up being 2D rendering at the end of it. And here we're not using any hardware acceleration, this isn't pure software. Yeah. So, and we did like, what else can I show? Yeah, textures. Well, yeah, textures are different than bitmaps, but they kinda sorta are bitmaps at the lowest level of it. Just there's like just a sampler that you can sample it in different ways. It's kind of more involved than just sampling a bitmap by indexing. And textures can have compression, and then you have to decompress. So once it's decompressed, it's just it's a grid of pixels. You can call it whatever, but yeah. And texture, like the term, like implies that there's like semantic meaning to. It's like the texture of a material, like the surface of whatever. So you can use bitmap textures to represent different properties of materials, like roughness and specularity and reflectivity and shininess, whatever you want to call it. It's just a way of parameterizing the surface with a bitmap. And then you map it to a 3D object with texture coordinates. Yeah, I totally want to get to like. So I wrote mostly a software rasterizer. I like did it in multiple languages actually, and I do want to cover like a software rasterizer because I just think it's interesting, and there's not too many high quality material about it, because most people just use the hardware acceleration, the graphics APIs plural. But I do find it there's value in actually knowing what those APIs are doing behind the scenes. I think it makes you more powerful even when you're using APIs. I did write a very simple OpenGL thing in C++ and in WebGL, so I'm familiar with how those diff stuff work. There's actually a really good series about like software rasterization. It's not free, but it's very cheap. It's like $11 US, which is very cheap. From Bukima, I think the website is called. It's by an Italian guy. Guess I can give him a shout here and post a link. Oh, goddamn. Anyway, Bukima. scratch a pixel. Seriously? I think I still have it open. Yeah, this one. Pikuma, sorry, yeah, not Pukima. So he has quite a few courses for software rendering. He does like raycasting, Wolfenstein 3D. There's one in JavaScript and there's one in C. And then there's the latest thing it has, does like software rasterization. I actually think that, you know, starting off with ray tracing, well, actually like ray casting technically in 3D is actually easier than rasterization. Rasterization is not the most common thing because it's simple. It's the most common thing because it's fast and easy to parallelize. Ray casting and even ray tracing is way simpler than rasterization. Which is kind of why I'm starting with it. Do we have any? So Christopher, have you watched, I mean, how much of the series have you watched yet? In so far? Do this. Yeah. Just playing around with OBS because I never used it before. We can like focus it on the relevant part, which is this. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think you mean the like the handmade playlist, the theory. Yeah, some people said that that people like a live stream because they can ask questions as you type. which is kind of why I made this live stream, but looks like nobody who actually watched the series showed up. Nicholas, are you still with us? And are you familiar with Odin at all? Cool. Also, Christopher, are you familiar with Odin, or did you come also from Handmade Network? I think we might have lost Nicholas there. It says that there are 4 people, but I only see 2 in chat. So are there other people that are watching here right now that haven't said hi in the chat at all? I haven't seen that. Cool. Sorry, just responding to my girlfriend. Have you actually written something in Odin, Christopher? I really liked it because it's very similar to Jai in a lot of ways. A bit simpler even, less ambitious, maybe. Yeah, it's easy to port to see. Yeah, I was on the fence whether or not I'm gonna do a series with C or something else. I just think that C and C++, there's already so much content out there on YouTube of how to do that. There's not much in Odin at all. It's pretty new. I actually originally wanted to do it in like TypeScript, and I do have a TypeScript implementation of those stuff and other stuff. I think it's a lot more there's a lot more people that know JavaScript and TypeScript than people who are into C and C++, I think. So it's more accessible, and if it's fast enough, it is in most cases. It's just easier to work with. maybe. Though I kind of changed my mind on that after I started doing the stuff in C, because without all the complexity of C++, it's just very, it ended up being a lot simpler than I thought it was gonna be. But there are still like way more JavaScript people than C, I think. And it is a little bit more accessible. I guess I can just start covering, like going over, I don't know, what it's, this stream is for you guys and for the viewers, so I guess I'll talk about whatever you want me to talk about. Yeah, definitely the command line interface is way simpler in Odin. I think that's, well, I don't know. I think in some part it's due to the fact that it's just newer. Like 4 decades or whatever of existing compilers just accrued craft inevitably. Also, I think the compilation mindset in Odin is more modern, I guess. Like when I first saw the packaging system in Odin, I was like, this looks dumb, but it turns out that it actually it's actually really good. It is simple, but yeah, there's good things about simplicity. It's maybe not as flexible, but like just the fact that you can have multiple files that you don't have to import from each other in just the same directory. So everything has access to everything else. It's like order independent, doesn't matter which order you define things. And then you can just kind of, the command line just give the kind of the entry point file, and then it figures it out from there. Don't have to include all the files in the command line. I guess you could, I don't know. I guess I just went with like a Unity build kind of setup. Christopher, did you want me to cover anything in particular? I mean, I can do the theory bits as well if you have any particular questions. Yeah, I wouldn't call it necessarily switching. It's like you can try it out. You can do like what I did, which is like pour the thing that you already have that's pretty small, or you can just start up a new thing like proof of concept or like prototypes and stuff. Kind of see if you like it. Yeah, I'll ask whatever you want. That's what this stream is about. Like this entire series and this all the playlists are targeting beginners explicitly. I mean, I didn't go too deep into the math bits. I'm not teaching how to program, but other than that, in terms of graphics, yeah, I'm aiming at people who never did any graphics at all. Let's see, we had no, it's still called panning. I had to change the name. So BitBlit I think needs a bitmap. I'm not sure, but I think it does. I think setDI bits is kind of more flexible in allowing you to just give it a pointer to an array. I mean, like instantiating bitmap is not that much work, but it's like one more thing you have to deal with and worry about that you don't necessarily have to. What is the beginning thing to learn about rendering? I think is the stuff that I've been covering. Like, rendering is just the process of generating a grid of pixels, ultimately. How would I do a sprite animation? Well, so here's the thing. So Win32 has this thing called GDI, and if you want to use what Windows has in GDI, then you can. A lot of people that have say that the API is pretty horrible, and the more you use whatever Win32 gives you in terms of rendering, the more you're tying your code to that particular platform. That means the more code you have to rewrite for like Linux and Mac. But it does get you faster further away, obviously, if you already know how to use it. People who have, I haven't used it myself too much. People have said that like it's a very old API and it's pretty bad in terms of design compared to others. So like you can use something like SDL, but that's, you know, that's a third-party thing that you can use. That it does, I think, use GDI more than I have. GDI is like a library of functions and structures that in C that does rendering, so you can do like drawing rectangles and stuff like that, and bitmaps. But like once you have a frame buffer that you own in terms of just an array of bytes, then you can implement sprite and sprite animation yourself. And I think that that Casey is doing that specifically in Handmade Hero. Don't think he's using GDI for that, because like, what is a sprite and sprite animation? Ultimately, sprite is just a bitmap. Like it's an array of bytes that contains the color values in each pixel, including transparency, so RGBA, and you just encapsulate that concept into some structure, and that's a sprite basically. And you can do like an atlas kind of scheme where you store multiple sprites in one sprite, or like one bitmap basically, and then like for animation, each frame of animation is like in a different offset into that bitmap. So you make like an atlas thing, and if you want to draw it on the screen, you can just do that with, like, you have a frame buffer already that gets displayed in the window. Then you can decide whatever you want to put in there at whichever frame, and then so you can just draw your sprites into it, kind of a rogue, straightforward way, pixel by pixel copying into. And I think that's what Casey is doing in Handmade Hero. He's doing even all the filtering himself, and then doing like simplifying that process of like querying neighboring pixels and averaging them out, and then you get like a pixel color value and just put it in your frame buffer in the array and just display that. And if you use different offsets into that in each frame, then you get the sprite animation. Well, like Atlas is like a term that is used to describe the concept of storing multiple bitmaps in one bitmap, like collapsing. It's mostly used for when you're using hardware acceleration, because you don't wanna upload many different bitmaps onto the GPU. That can be very slow. So you pack those into a single one that has all the full animation of your like character in the bitmap. It's just a single bitmap that has all of that at different offsets, if you've ever seen something like that. And then you just, instead of displaying the whole bitmap, the whole atlas, you just display parts of it each frame using different offsets. You draw it into the same place, but you're sourcing from different sections of it, if it makes sense. So it's just a bitmap. Yeah, it can be like a pixel array in 32. It's just something that also stores like kind of the meta information of how it's laid out. You can do that, like store this offset includes this frame, this other offset includes this other frame. Like you have all the frames in one bitmap, and you're kind of slicing subsections of it that contain the pixels for the character in the specific frame of animation. And you can just animate that offset and just query different subsections of the atlas and just draw that like a sliding window, and that's like the whole atlas sprite scheme. So like there's functionality that already implements that, because it's such a common thing to do for 2D rendering. So that's, you have in graphics libraries, or maybe in Win32 even in GDI, you have pre-made code that basically implements that scheme. But you don't have to use it, you can implement it yourself. And I think that's what Casey is doing. I guess I can do like a theory video describing that if people are interested. Personally, I'm more interested in the 3D stuff, so I want to get to it as fast as possible. But like in 2D, you can go nuts. You can stay in 2D forever. It's like there's so much you can just do. So I have like a line drawing algorithm that I've implemented. It's like the Bresenham line drawing algorithm. There's already pretty good videos on YouTube that describe how to do that, like drawing diagonal lines at any angle or whatever. And then there's like drawing of circles, and then you can combine, because drawing a circle, you just like drawing a circle is kind of like this similar approach to the Bresenham algorithm, where you kind of go in one direction until some threshold is reached, and then you go up a row of pixels and stuff like that. So you can do that even without using any trigonometric functions. And that's what Windows does, and everybody else, basically, if you want to be fast. And you're doing the same thing for like imagine like a pizza, so you slice it up 8 ways, you figure out how to draw an arc of an eighth of a circle, and then you basically mirror that in multiple ways to get the full circle. And you can use like a quarter of a circle to be like a round corner of a rectangle, so you can combine circle drawing and rectangle drawing in such a way that you have like a rectangle with round corners. There's just so many stuff you can do in 2D, and I can spend forever covering that, but I'm personally more interested in 3D stuff and going into ray tracing. Right, I think we'll wrap it up. It's been a bit over an hour. It was, I think, enough time for people to join in. Yeah, Casey goes very well. I don't know. He implements a lot of stuff that I haven't implemented, so it takes a bit longer. And maybe he explains things a bit more comprehensively than I am in certain cases, so it takes a bit longer. So it's just a lot of dedication to sit down and watch, even at double speed. I think I got through the platform layer a bit faster than he did. Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a day for this and grab something to eat. We'll see if there's enough demand to do another one sometime soon. I really want like people to actually post questions in the YouTube videos themselves, and then maybe I'll see if there's justification for having Q&A sessions. Because currently there doesn't seem to be too much of an interest. I mean, otherwise people would have asked more questions in the YouTube. Anyway, yeah, I'll close it. Grab something to eat. So, yeah. Good luck with learning computer graphics. I'll end the stream now. Bye.